What's up? It's Marco, Sage of Soccer, and today I'll be talking about the U.S. men's national team head coaching search. And we've been linked with a lot of big names such as Jose Mourinho and Zinedine Zidane, but recently been linked with a name that's just as big, though less accomplished as a manager, Thierry Henry. Henry is obviously a legendary player, arguably the greatest Premier League player of all time, honestly, from both a resume and talent standpoint. He was a leader of that Arsenal invincible team in 2004 and was also a part of the Barcelona treble winning team in 2009. On top of that, early in his career, he helped France win the World Cup and as well as the Euro. And as a player, he's legendary, accomplished, and I don't think there's too many players who look better than him. To start off his managerial career, he started as a youth team coach with Arsenal, his main club, and it's hard to really gauge how well he did there. Obviously, even if we looked at results, youth results come secondary to development. Though I will say at the time, Arsenal was pushing through a lot of good players. He was probably working with Saka and Smith Rowe at the time, though I think it'd be a bit of a stretch to credit their development solely to him. He was fired from that job shortly after he got it, as Arsene Wenger wanted somebody who would work with the job full time as opposed to Henry, who was doing it part time, and he chose to walk away rather than become a full time manager. Next, Henry was named the assistant manager under Roberto Martinez for the 2018 World Cup cycle for Belgium. And this is the World Cup cycle where Belgium did really look their best. They reached the semifinals and was really the only time this golden generation achieved their actual potential. And you could give some credit to Thierry Henry. The players did seem to like him, but given what we'll get into a bit later, I wouldn't do that. Though at this time, the resume is looking pretty good, and it makes sense that Monaco, the club that he started out at, hired him to be their manager. But it did not go well in Monaco. To be fair to Henry, it was a bit of a tough position. He inherited a team that was in 19th place, and this was Monaco, who had just really lost all of their core from that 2017 team that reached the Champions League semifinals. But he got the squad in 19th place, he left it in 19th place. He got the job in October, he lost in January. It wasn't the best situation, but he clearly did not do a good job, and it was a bad start to a managerial career by Henry. Henry then took over Montreal in MLS ahead of the 2020 season. Again, due to the pandemic, not exactly great circumstances, but things went all right. He had mild success. Due to the increased playoff field, Montreal did reach the playoffs for the first time in a while, and the groundwork was laid for a pretty decent season. He did sign Georgi Mihailovic ahead of 2021, but he then walked away from the squad right before the start of the season. Again, another time where he didn't commit to a job, which has to be said is another time. Henry then returned to Belgium under Roberto Martinez, and things didn't go terribly at first. They went on the Euro at the quarterfinals, which isn't great, but kind of typical Belgium golden generation underachieving. And then they crashed out of the World Cup group stage, which I think proves that Henry wasn't the secret to Belgium's success at the 2018 World Cup. And that's his entire managerial resume. A couple of decent moments as an assistant coach and all right run in Montreal, but that's it. And I'm only listing Henry's resume for a reason. He's had a very limited sample size as a manager tactically. He had a very small run at Monaco, and then a season kind of at Montreal was cut very short. And in that time, he's really shown no consistency in a formation. So there isn't much to say about Henry there. I mean, maybe you could say he's good at developing players. Joel Waterman did look pretty good at Montreal, I guess. But this we're not in a state as a USA team where we really need to develop our players anymore. Now we're looking to get the most out of the actual talent that we have. And it doesn't seem like Henry's the best suited for that. Let's forget about a name. Let's take a step back and ask ourselves a question. Do we really want to hire a guy who had a failed run in Europe before reaching the peak of his managerial career as reaching the playoffs in the MLS? I mean, do we want to hire a guy who's had some mild international success and then really never showed anything at a club level? Oh, wait. My point is that I don't think that Henry should be hired, but let's take this head coaching search seriously this time. Let's make sure we get the most interviews possible and hire somebody who can actually get the best out of the team that we have. That's all I talk about. See you.